because like it was part public urination on private property. Like there's a number of different things. I'm like, how am I supposed to handle this? And the boss wasn't there, and she was drunk anyway. So I'm like, well, okay, gotta let that one go. But yeah, that was yesterday for me. On 3.5 hours of sleep and an energy drink.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hear you.
Yeah.
We're live.
Oh, good.
We are.
So hopefully
live.
that last little bit was all good.
Yeah,
It was all
last
live.
Last little bit was great.
Oh,
we
wonderful.
Are live. We are live. All right. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the Speaker Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Xcalion, or Ledge, or J-Dog, the Dizzle, and then...
No one calls you that.
There's that one person that calls me that.
Okay. All right. Other host, Batsam.
Let me get this.
Yeah, no. No one calls you J-Dog.
Well, there was that one time.
No. All right. So Witch Queen is finally here. It's we were talking about it last week, and so we're like, 3 days away. Well, now we're several days into it, and have had a lot of time to play around with it. We'll be honest, I only played like the first 2 missions in the new season of the Risen. Only been playing Witch Queen stuff. Been really all about that crafting. It took me a little bit to get the storyline finished, which I just finished on Thursday night. Played it on legendary difficulty, which was good. Beat the first couple levels by myself, and then eventually got some people together and finished it up. But oh my gosh, excellent story. That M. Night Shyamalan twist is just great. And we'll keep this relatively spoiler free for those of you who haven't finished it yet. I feel like maybe like the first 3 weeks,
such as myself.
Right. I feel like the first 3 weeks we probably shouldn't say anything about how the main campaign ends, or just anything that happens in the main campaign, other than just like it's good. Lots of twists, lots of turns. Just give everyone time to finish it, because not everyone has dedication or the time to. Not dedication, but the time to actually sit down and finish it out as fast as maybe you and I did. So
I'm still admittedly still working on it, but I really didn't have much time to play all week.
We're late on right now because he was working on the last level with some of our other fire team members. So they were on the final boss fight when they're like, oh, time to go. And I actually wolfed down dinner because my mother-in-law's over, and I was like, I gotta get this podcast going. So it's all good. Here we are. So fun things to touch on about Witch Queen. Something I wanted to talk about last week that we didn't get a chance to talk about until today is weapon crafting. Super huge, all about building my own stuff. Blacksmithing has always been something that I've wanted to do as a personal hobby. Anytime in games where let me craft my own stuff, always about that, because you can always customize it to what makes it unique to you. They've done a really good job of implementing this whole crafting system around once you get a gun, to then the more you use it, the more you can modify it. There are plenty of other content creators who are already out there that have already gone through whole walkthroughs on all the weapons that you can craft, all the weapons you can get, and all their roles. Not going to sit here and go through all of that. I will say it's definitely rewarding, and if you haven't started playing like through the campaigns and stuff yet, very early on, you get a glaive that you can create. By the time you finish the first mission, your second mission is literally just to build this thing. You will most likely carry that with you for the rest of your time playing. Anytime you craft a weapon, it can always be upgraded. So let's talk about that. And just stop me if you have something to interject as well. So as you're playing the game, you're going to come across a weapon that's going to have a red border around it. It means it has an extractable trait, or its pattern, the weapon pattern, can be extracted and be used later. So as of right now, the time of recording, we have 2 sets of weapons to use, and a third that's coming. So they have the Witch Queen weapon set, which dropped with the expansion Witch Queen, and then you have the Season of the Risen weapons that are Cabal themed. Those 2 sets are available to craft and then the raid set will be available to craft next weekend. So once the raid drops, the raid weapons, once you've obtained them, you can then craft them. So those are the 3 sets that are in the game right now, and then some of the exotics are in the crafter as well. I'm pretty sure the exotic glaives are going to be coming after the raid. Just that's what they've done in the past. Usually once the raid drops, something else big in the story shifts, and more things happen, which is honestly a cool system.
Yeah.
I liked when they did that for Vault of Glass, not Vault of Glass, but Deepstone. When Deepstone happened, it's been out for a year, and they had a little cutscene with it too. But essentially, they dropped the satellite that was orbiting around Europa onto the planet, and it opened up a whole other route of storyline.
Now you have your weekly whatever zone it is. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
So they did a really good job with implementing that into the story. I think they started that with Forsaken, because they did that with the Riven
City.
Yeah, because then after that there was like the curse that was on the city as well. So they've done a really good job with that. That's where I'm thinking the glaives are going to come from. So anyway, so bringing it back to weapon crafting, whenever you get a weapon, specifically that's a pattern that you can learn, the first time you pick up anything off of it, like all the weapons, all the traits, all the stuff that's in a weapon, once you've used it, gain experience with it, or just honestly you could just pick it up, complete a bunch of bounties, and then it just pops. Like you can extract something out of it. Once you extract something out of it, you either learn the pattern or you get materials that help you to rebuild the weapon later. All the different traits have a name that goes along with it, like energetic, advanced, or
ruinous.
Yeah, so you can only hold so many of these materials, which I think is, especially for the launch of this, I feel like they probably should have let the cap be a little higher than 250, and then even on the ruinous one, I think it's capped at 96, and that's because of the traits they can roll with. So each one of these little name things has traits that they correspond to. So for instance, Vorpal Weapon is one of those that goes along with energetic or ruinous, and that's the one you have the least amount of, like the material to make, and it's because of how powerful that trait is. So once you get a gun and you go to build it, and you'll see this with the glaive, it starts off at level 1 and you only have a few things to choose from. You put in whatever you want to put into it, great. Well, now if you want to upgrade this weapon to even bigger and better things, you need to use it. You get practice with it. You understand it. Know how it works. It becomes more comfortable in your hands, and then you can start really maxing it out. Changing the frame of it, changing the energy of it, changing the masterworks. All of these things come from time using the weapon. And I believe currently you only have to be level 7 with most of the legendary weapons, and you can utilize them to their fullest degree. Most of the perks unlock at level 7, and then if you have the materials, you can then enhance that perk. So for instance, the glaive right off the bat, that would probably just be the easiest one to go with. Whirlwind Spin or whatever it has. Right off the bat, they show you, because you've used it for several levels, you can then unlock its enhanced version of that perk. Means it's more potent, more efficient. It does cost more materials, and it costs an exotic new thingamabob that they're putting in. I forget what it's called, and off the top of my head I don't remember. But essentially it is a farmable exotic piece. Currently everyone's going nuts over trying to find 3 of them to unlock the catalyst for the new SMG, which the name escapes me again. But it's
Osteostriga,
yeah. So you need 3 of those to unlock its masterwork. And the only way to get this masterwork is through the crafting table, which, again, I think it's a cool design. Makes it easy to know where to get it from. And I think not overdoing it on the crafter with exotics is going to be good, because there's still something to be said for, like, oh, this is a random drop. That's cool, and these ones you can craft.
I will say on that note, it will be cool if one day we see them maybe move over, like Hawkmoon and DMT over to the table, the weapons that do have random rolls. Just because, that seems like one way. And I haven't gotten Osteo yet. I'll be getting it very shortly. Does it have pseudo random rolls, or is it set?
No, so it's basically all the perks and all the things on it are set. The only thing that you're crafting out of it is literally the masterwork.
Okay.
I do know for a fact that the new glaives are going to have additional things that we can change. Essentially, their normal perks are going to be the same. The Warlock one shoots a healing turn, the Titan one shoots a Titan bubble, and the Hunter one does the ground slam. But for the most part, I think most of the exotics moving forward are going to have like their traits set, unlike how Hawkmoon and DMT are unique in the sense where they can have, the different stocks and the different like ammo and magazine types, and then obviously their extra perk. I think those two guns are going to continue to stay unique, and I would love to see them do another one, like maybe a shotgun in the future, maybe a rocket launcher, just like maybe like one of each kind of a deal moving forward with that. But I also, again, like I said, I like the fact that like ASTRO Striga, all of its stuff is set, and the only thing you're using the table for is literally its masterwork. I think that's a nice touch, but yeah, I like a little bit of balance to it, because exotics are one thing to craft, and then legendaries are completely another, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
Exotics are like, man, I got this thing. Isn't that crazy? Versus somebody's like, I built that thing. It's all right. There's more accomplishment there because you had to scrounge up that exotic or those pieces to get to that place.
I think that's something that I'm pretty excited about, because exotics today are not what they were in Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, you got a weapon, and if you dismantled it, you're, for the most part, kind of SOL. It's gone. You can go remake it, but like today it costs some legendary shards and some glimmer, and that's it. But back then it was expensive, and the only way to get the stuff that you needed to remake something like that was to dismantle exotics.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way you got that material. I can't even remember what it's called now, but
it was the golf ball. It was the legendary materials.
It's been so long.
Now we use that for armor.
Yeah, exactly, for armor. And
speaking of which, go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna say, like, having the ability to pseudo craft these exotics. I've crafted 3 things so far on the crafting table. I've crafted the Enigma, which is the glaive. I've crafted the Likely Suspect, which is the fusion rifle that you get, the rapid fire frame, so good, and the aggressive burst sidearm, the kinetic one. I can't remember what it's called, but go on, as you were saying.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I honestly, I would love to see this level of crafting go to armor eventually. And here's my thought on that, right? And Bundry, you're welcome to use this. So you get to build your armor, and as you're building the armor, you have certain materials that you can put in to the armor itself. So right off the bat, if you're making legendary armor, it starts off as a roll of, the minimum roll is 48. I think it's actually 46, but 48's fine. So you run it at 48, and that's the base. Then you're able to put in material, right? And you only get like so many rare material, and that only gets you so far. And then you have certain legendary material, and that only gets you so far. And these bump the stats, right? So it's like this piece here gives you increased agility and recovery, but at the cost of strength and discipline.
Right.
But it's like the minus maybe like 5 split amongst those two, but it gives you 10 split amongst the others. And that way you can stack your own armor to level out the stats that you want. Because like there are so many times where I'll be playing and I'll be like, man, I wish I could just, and I've done this in the past, like before seasons began, like for this season in particular, I made my armor set. Like I'm collecting armor forever, but I have an armor set that gives me 100% recovery and 100% resilience with 80 intellect with mods. All of my intellect and all of my recovery comes from just the base armor, and then most of my resilience comes from that too. So like at the end of the day, I just have resilience mods in. I'm sitting at 3 stats almost completely maxed out, and my survivability is through the roof. I would love to be able to sit down and actually craft that out. Yeah. Like with all of these recent things with the Umbral engrams and like, oh, you get 3 major decodes a week for high stat roll armor. Those are worthless. Because I sit there and I'll go do those, and like the high stat roll, yeah, sure, it might be like 28, but it's a 50 roll. And none of the other stats come anywhere close, and it's just a terrible piece of armor with 1 stat. I want to see like, 1 super high stat and 1 moderately high, and then everything kind of balance out. I'm okay with a couple like 2s or 4s, but let me see more to it,
Yeah, and I think the way you could do that, because we have we were talking about the elements that you use, the materials that you use to craft your traits and stuff for your weapons. That's how you could do your armor stats, right?
Yeah.
Like the ruinous element, which you can only have 96 of. Well, there's your intellect. There's your recovery.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the cheaper ones, maybe strength, maybe mobility. Stuff like that, and you can see that breakdown. But the thing is you can only meet, right, a particular number set. You can't exceed that number set.
Right.
So if you want to go for a grenade build, you can build into that way, and not have to waste mods for discipline, later on. And I agree, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, like, if you had material that was like, oh, okay, so this set of material is rare, right? And this one is legendary, and then you have a few exotic ones. Let's say you can only use 10 pieces to level up that piece of armor. Well, yeah, you have 2 exotics, 4 legendaries, and a few rares. How you stack them is entirely up to you, which means every piece of armor that you craft is completely unique to your playstyle. Because you could go into your armor set and max out intellect and recovery in 2 different armor pieces and be at 100. And then your other pieces you could really mid max.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've thought of that, and maybe that's why we haven't experienced it yet, or maybe they're just like, oh, weapon crafting's here, let's see how this works, and then maybe roll out something in the future. I've really enjoyed what they've done so far, and so I'm very excited to see it. But back on topic of weapon crafting, if you haven't crafted a weapon and you're still doing Witch Queen, like you're working towards like finishing the campaign, make a weapon.
Yeah.
There, you get a pulse rifle in the beginning of the game, craft that pulse rifle. And the reason why is this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you make it because you want to be using this weapon.
Yeah.
Right. The way that you craft this weapon, the way that you're able to reshape this weapon later, is by using the weapon now. I'm sorry, you go ahead. You're the
Oh yeah. No, you're good.
The smart one on this topic. I'm just kind of here.
Well, I would always refer back to you for like perk system, but like mid-maxing the weapons that they're coming out right now. If you start using these Witch Queen weapons and the Season of the Risen weapons now, right, you are building essentially the building blocks that you'll be using in the future. Again, all the perks stop at level 7, and that's it. Move on to the next weapon. Because as you use a weapon, it gains levels. Kind of like how, your Guardian does. But these levels don't reset at the end of the season. Your weapon continues to grow in strength. So for instance, like the Ostrio Striga, it also gains levels. Because you have to be, I think, at level 10 or level 12 or 15 to get the catalyst in place. So you have to rank up the weapon. They just want you to use it. They want you to use the content they put in the game, which is sweet. Some of the weapons are definitely top notch, and some of them are like, I could take it or leave it. The fusion rifle that Ledge is talking about, I used it. I'm not a huge fan. It seems like a really short range burst, but honestly, if you're just ducking around corners, that's great. But like the rocket launcher, I made the Hake rocket launcher with the late impact and everything, lasting impression. And I think I did I don't remember the other one, but basically it was so nice because during some of the boss fights, someone else was using Galahorn, I'd run next to them and then fire my rocket because it's tracking, and then it would land in the boss, and then it would blow up a couple seconds later, but it had the Wolfpack rounds blow up out of it. So I could shoot it in and it would stick, and as long as I ran past somebody that had the Wolfpack rounds and it said Wolfpack ready, they were already stuck in the boss, and it popped a little bit later, mad damage.
Yeah.
And the weapon continues to level up with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can change it in the future. So that is the big appeal to me, because it makes me very excited for what they're going to do in the future, because apparently it's going to be every season, the seasonal weapons are going to be craftable like this. This means all of those weapons that we have in collections right now, where it's like, oh yeah, you can't obtain this from collections because it's a random roll. That's never going to happen again. If you obtain every weapon that the Witch Queen has and this new season has, you are saving every weapon moving forward. You can delete them from your vault. You don't have to hold on to them. You're clearing up vault space, but then you can go and craft that later.
Yeah.
Which is outstanding. You're going to... vault space alone, I'm so excited about. And the other thing, too, these weapons have more to offer. Even if you don't like some of the perks in some of these guns, the fact of the matter is, they have a forge trait. A lot of these new weapons...
Origin trait is what it's called?
Yeah.
In the game? Yeah.
I like Foundry, but...
Yeah.
The origin traits of all these weapons come from... If you pick up the new shotgun, the ritual weapon this season is a shotgun. If you pick it up from the Vanguard, it's going to have the Vanguard Foundry on it. Meaning you will gain 7 health every time you get a kill with this weapon. It's the same for Gambit. It's the same for Crucible. But that means it's worth it to go and get the 3 versions of this gun. Because last season, actually the last several seasons, there was no reason... There was no reason to get the same weapon 3 times.
Yeah.
I think last season was the only one that actually did it, because I think the first 2 were like, oh, once you get the fusion rifle and the grenade launcher, it's like, oh, now you just get the ornaments. Last season's like...
I was going to say, it made sense at first, whenever they first implemented it, because it's like you picked a quest log to go through. You either picked Vanguard, Crucible, or Gambit. And then once you acquired the weapon through those means, you... at that point in time, we're able to go through and do basically the same thing for the other 2. If I got the Crucible one, I could go through the Vanguard, and that is what gave me the ornament for it, for the Vanguard. That made a lot of sense. And now it's just like, oh, here, now you have 3 Ascendancy rocket launchers, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
so what am I supposed to do with these?
Right.
But now there's actually a reason to. There's a reason to get all 3.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know how good the shotgun is. I personally don't have it yet. I only just started doing some Vanguard strikes today. I think I did 2 of them, trying to save that pinnacle for a little closer to reset day when I'm actually up to snuff on power. But yeah, it's just the Foundry traits. They're going to be Foundry traits. I'm sorry. I'm not going back to Origin traits. The Foundry traits, they make such a big difference. They make enough of a difference that it's worth it to collect them.
Yes.
I'm not a huge player in PvE, and nor do I use I'm not a big player in PvP. I don't really use shotguns in PvP, but the fact that it can give me any kind of leg up is worth going for. And I feel like that's the same for everywhere. Like, if you're trying to really min-max how your stats are going to be, trying to min-max your weapon play, you're going to want guns that reflect that extra little bit anywhere you can get it.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that the Nightfall weapons, the adapt versions we're going to be getting, those are going to be instrumental in getting the future ones.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have the really nice perks to them. They're going to have that extra like Foundry trait that makes it so much easier to do other things. Because thus far, we haven't had anything quite like it. And even if it is a small perk, even if it is like... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, on that note, we have the raid coming up a week from today. You know, these raid weapons are going to have an origin, foundry trait, whatever you want to call it. They're going to have something dedicated to the raid, right? Yeah. Because like we have raid weapons now where you basically, I guess not weapons so much as like we have like raid armor now where since I think Garden of Salvation, all of the raids has had armor that comes out and then particular mods that go to those armor sets that enhance your experience within said raid.
That actually went back as far as Witch Queen.
Yeah, not Witch Queen. Dreaming City.
But
whatever.
Went to Dreaming City, and then even the season of the Forge. The season of the Forge when they had that raid. When all the armor pieces had that as well because you did more damage to Fallen.
That's right.
And
I forgot
even
about those.
And the beauty part of that was you were fighting Fallen not always in the raid anyway. So those mods took place outside the raid.
Yeah.
I think it was during Garden of Salvation where the mods like these mods only take effect when you're in the raid, or Deepstone Crypt activated in the raid. So they've definitely changed that up. But yeah, that you could even see that maybe the weapons are like, oh, when you're in a raid, you get this towards like minor enemies or something.
Right.
Because that's going to help you with future raids. It's going to make it worthwhile when a new thing comes out to go back and try to get yourself some good stuff to then go. So yeah, what they're doing now, they're really future-proofing their game. They're adding longevity to it. And I think the reason we haven't seen something like this yet is just because I don't think they were quite sure if they were going to do Destiny 3 or not. And then once they made we're not doing Destiny 3, now all these really nice big patches, quality of life changes are kind of coming through the pipeline. We talked about this last week with the Crucible maps, they're revamping Gambit, weapon crafting now. The scale of everything is getting much bigger, and this is only the beginning. I think with the changes to the Super, Void is an absolute delight. If you're not using Void right now, I really encourage you to at least try it out. It's so good. I have not played any PvP, but I hear it's broken in there.
I haven't either. I'm the PvP guy. I haven't played a single game yet.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. There's a lot of synergy to it, and it just makes me that much more excited to see what's going to happen in the future with the other classes. Like, oh my gosh, can you imagine being a Dawnblade, using the ability like to have your wings out and you're flying with like Dawnblade like doing damage, but then you can charge up that grenade instead of consuming it to get like the floating ability. You're healing allies. Make a hybrid class. It'd be like a damage but healer class. That excites me immensely because like, man, I loved playing Dawnblade for the sake of you had a sword, and it was like this whole element of like, oh, that's your sword. You crafted this sword. You have wings. It's great. All I ever did was to heal.
I saw this funny meme the other day, actually. I probably should have saved it and shared it here. But it said, Season 17, Arc 3.0, Season 18, Solar 3.0, Season 19, Stasis 1.0. Take Stasis all the way back to the beginning
there
where
we
it originally was.
Just make it in line with everything else. Just OP and broken. But yeah, that's kind of where I'd say, like, you know, if you're interested in like doing a deep dive, I think Astacross did 2 videos on everything, and it was like an hour and a half long. It was a long video. Actually, I did not sit down and watch it. I'm the kind of person who likes to do it myself. I want to see it. I want to be surprised by it and give my own take to it. And then probably after I've done all of it, as I'll probably go back and watch.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to kind of see what every weapon can offer you, like what are all the traits and abilities, yeah, go ahead and have a look at some of these videos. That's what they're there for. Content creators do this to help the players.
Well, I mean, we can definitely give a few shout-outs for weapon rolls that we think are good, for sure. You guys know me. I'll be doing that anyways. But I do want to say this. If you're playing through this game right now, playing through the Witch Queen, or even if you're not playing through the Witch Queen, okay, even if you're just, if you say you don't even have it yet, you're just playing through right now the free version or whatever, if you get one of the attuned weapons, and what that means is you get a weapon that's got the red outline around it. Yeah. It's you can see it, you can tell it's there. There's no difference between that and any other weapon roll except for the fact that it has attunement. What that means is you use that weapon, and that means you use it. You can either get kills with it, or you can just use it to do your normal stuff. Per strike run, you get 35 progress towards that, or it's something like that, right? But you do either or. You can either use it to get kills, or just have it equipped, right, and just have it gain level by proxy. Whenever it's got maximum attunement, at that point, you can attune it for either, let's say, the Ruinous element, or the, that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. Energetic is one of them. Energetic and Ruinous. Yeah. So Energetic and Ruinous. It'll have one of two types, and you can attune it for either one. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you 12 of the attuned energy and I think 200 of the neutral element. And And those are your materials, and that's how you get these materials, is by attuning them. So all of that to say, unless you are just absolutely certain that you are set on these materials, don't delete them. All right, put them in the vault. I think if we're right, you can only have a maximum of 250 of all the other elements and 96 of the ruinous. Yes. Then put them in the vault and save them. Put them on your other characters and save them. And then after you do use some of that material, you can go back through and then you can delete it and you have those materials again. Because as of right now, there's not a way to purchase that stuff. It's which is fine. Play the game. That's what they're like. It's Bungie saying, hey, play the game. Use these weapons, and that's why they have it set to where you don't even have to get kills. You just have to have the thing equipped.
Yeah, if you have bounties ready to cash in, put one of those weapons on. Like, honestly, you could stockpile those weapons, cash a couple bounties in, boom. And I'm not 100% on that because I believe it says complete activities or get kills with it. So that's something I plan on trying to do. Just seeing if that works. But that was anytime you would gain an instance of experience, it was leveling up the weapon. It's easy to do. Some of them are easier than others, like the rocket launcher, the LMG and stuff. Those things, because they use up so much like heavy, it's like, they're a little bit more friendly in the sense where like how much experience it gives you. But like the primaries take a little while just because they're like, they're expecting you to use this a lot. So that's pretty cool. So real quick, we'll take a pause. Dirt said he'll start calling you, the J Dog, J Izzle.
Dirty, thank you.
Grumpy Otters says, I'm still doing the campaign, haven't even touched the crafting table yet. And also, hey guys, what's up, Grumpy Otter? Yeah, definitely hit up that crafting table. At least get one or two weapons in your pockets, just so that way you're leveling up something. Bloodbane says I'm still on the last mission himself. Was actually not hyped for the DLC at all, but going through the story, can't help but get excited. It feels great. Yes, it does. Sniper says, I'll warn you about the legendary exotics. It drops from collection as a collection roll, so I recommend doing the Lost Sector. I found this out the hard way. Yes. So when you finish the campaign on legendary mode, you get the option of picking one of the new exotics for each class. So if you finish the campaign, for instance, as the Warlock man, I finished the campaign on my Warlock, and I was given the options of the new Stasis gloves or the new boots. When you get one of those, you get it as the trash roll. It's if you pulled it from collections, just like Snipe said, but that means you now have it in your loot pool,
right.
Which means any of the random exotic drops that you get thus far after that means it could potentially be that.
Yeah.
And if you struggle with doing those content drops by yourself, this is a great way of doing it because that's a 3-person activity that you can do with friends versus you have to be geared up, have proper weapons, have an idea what these new lost sectors are going to be. It can be a real challenge, and they made the campaign on legendary mode very doable. It definitely is challenging. Don't get me wrong. That last little story bit took me about two hours to beat.
Yeah.
But there was at no point where I felt like it wasn't fair. It was good stuff.
Now,
Grumpy Otter says Stasis Hunters can
only canonically play through.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I like that. Now, I don't know. Dirty tried to convince Blood and I earlier that now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Dirty's wrong. I hope Dirty's wrong because he is our Cali boy. But he made it sound like even if you're playing on just the legendary difficulty or whatnot, that if you had more people playing, then it was by proxy even more difficult. He said it's still easier to do if you're solo.
Yes,
I don't know if that's true. I don't know that I can tell a difference.
So I can tell you from experience right now, it is a 100%. They adjust it based on the amount of people that are playing with you. It's Borderlands rules, Whenever someone joins your world, the game becomes harder.
Yeah.
So on the second mission, you fight a boss, and that boss would do... It's the presage boss for getting Dead Man's Tale, right? That boss does like this roundhouse punch, and when I was helping my dad and my cousin play through, I was getting one shot, right? We tried for about 45 minutes. Had to go to bed, so I I logged out that night, and then the next morning I got on, and when I actually started playing, I was playing by myself. That same punch that was one-shotting me all last night, I could tank the hit, and I did nothing to change my armor setup, and I didn't have weapons of light procced, like an armor of light procced. So the difference is there. So if you're interested in trying to do that on your own, it is a little easier. But if you have a team, it is much nicer because like you're getting better ad control and more DPS. But just be aware that the boss fights and the enemies are going to be a little bit harder, which I think is fair, honestly. Dark Souls does that. A lot of other games like scale to the amount of people that you have in the room, just so it makes it feel better, you know. So
yeah. Let me see. Trying to make sure we ain't get any more comments real quick. I think we're caught up.
Yep.
Good job on catching that. We're
the second time doing it, so I actually have it all pulled up right on my side now. Here, when I do when I stream, is I have my main stream going, and then I'll see the comments pop, and then I'll just read it off on the side. I figure I do that setup for this, but yeah.
Yeah. So like the weapon crafting, I mean, so far I'm very happy. Grumpy Otters did just comment, banking everything for now, still using Wither Horde with Warmind SMG.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a great SMG. Though it got nerfed this season for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, so Wither Horde, still putting in work.
Always.
Bang them once, and then you put one on the ground, and then you're good to go. Honestly, so what I did, I'll use Wither Horde with Bad Omens, on auto-loading Bad Omens, because that auto-loads, Wither Horde auto-loads. You fire one Wither Horde, switch to Rocket, fire the shot, switch to your secondary, and then you're good. And you just keep going in rotation like that. That's DPS magic right there.
Right.
Always a great thing to do. But yeah, no, for those people still in the campaign, build at least one weapon and you're good to go. Also, there's no reason not to do the legendary mode. Yes, it's a little more difficult. Yes. If you're doing it just for pure story sake, by all means, do it. Go for the normal playthrough. Have a good time with it, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you play games to have fun.
Yeah.
If you're not having fun on legendary difficulty, then switch to normal mode. The storyline is great and is definitely worth your time to enjoy. And if you're stressing out over playing on something difficult, then don't worry about it.
100%.
The legendary difficulty was put in place for players who want to get more out of the game. The veteran players who are like, I'm trying to get ready for raid day. Myself, I was trying to get grinded up, because for Deep Stone it was a different story. There was a huge gap in power level, and you only had a week and a half to get ready for it.
Yeah.
This way, with the legendary story, they gave you upgrade mods. There was double chest drops, and by the end of it, you will be. Once you finish the final mission, they give you a chest. They give you items. They give you a complete set of 15-20 gear. So, weapons, full set of armor. You're there, and it's perfect. Because after that, you only have 10 levels to go to be raid ready. Which, if anyone out there who wants to do raid ready, for day one, you need to be at 1530, 10 levels away from where you drop off after a legendary campaign. So it's really nice.
Right. I do remember whenever Beyond Light came out, and we had like getting ready for Deepstone, like everybody was getting ready for Deepstone, and I didn't partake in the day one for Deepstone. I think at the time that wasn't even like an interest of mine, but you and Ty, like we had a few people that were like, we are still so far away from the cap. And it was like a week away, and no one knew what to do. So I said, guys, everyone join up on me. We're going to take turns going into comp and, grinding that out. I think that's what we did. We just grinded comp to get all those power drops, as many of those as we could. You don't have to do that anymore. And usually, and I even said in the beginning, like, don't use all your upgrade modules. I put a video out the other day that said that. It was like my third tip.
Yeah.
Don't use your upgrade modules. Just equip the blue gear for now. Because as soon as you're done with the next mission, you're going to have another chest piece that's even higher, and you're just literally burning that stuff. But my goodness, they give you so many upgrade modules. This is the first time I've had like a collection of upgrade modules in my Postmaster. Yeah. Like, it's like they genuinely like want you to use this stuff. So if you're going through it, I'm just going to say, maybe I was wrong. Just don't don't like burn something to get like one thing. If you have like something that's 1500 and you get another chess piece that's like 1501, don't do that. Just wait. It's not going to be worth it. Just wait. But otherwise,
I will say that all of the story missions have a cap that they push you to. So that's the reason why they're giving you upgrade mods. That's the reason why they're giving you double chest drops. Is the very first mission, you are capped at 1350. By the last mission, your power level is capped at 1500. So for every mission, make sure you're hitting that cap so you're doing optimal damage. So you're doing your optimal survivability. I had enough materials on hand that when the last season ended, I bought 25 upgrade modules because my armor set was optimized for my playstyle, recovery and resilience and intellect. I was always having my abilities coming back. I could always spam my supers. I had what it took to finish.
Yeah.
And then with the new void stuff, it was so much easier to get my other abilities back. But that was what I was spending my upgrade mods on, and I ran out. I ran out halfway through, and I had to go buy 25 more. It's not cheap. I've just been playing for the last 3 years and had a good stockpile of materials, and I almost burned out of the planet materials.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do. So especially for new players who don't have like that level of deep pocket reserves, it definitely can be a challenge. And so I would definitely say hold on to some of the, honestly, the weapons. The weapons changed every single round. Every single mission I played, I got a new weapon. I just stopped upgrading my good weapons. I had like maybe one static one that I kept with me because I wanted something to fall back on. But for the most part, I used whatever they gave me, and then my armor was the only thing that I upgraded because I wanted the mods in place. I wanted the good stats. I wanted my survivability to stay the same. But as far as that goes, the allure of Witch Queen doesn't stop at the story. Once you finish the story, there's so much more that opens up. The new season itself, the activity is actually pretty fun. I played a little bit of it today by myself, and then I was getting ready to do it with some friends before we started this, and I'll definitely be able to touch on that next week. Which next week, I don't know if we're doing a Saturday or we're doing Friday. I am off on Friday night, so we could do one on Friday, the podcast instead.
Okay.
And I could be here, or if it's Saturday, I won't be here, so I'll be grinding the raid.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try. I think we're gonna try to shoot for Friday at this point in time.
Okay.
I think I too might be in a separate day one run, though. I'm gonna be real with you guys. My day one run not gonna be near as legit as Sam's. We're doing it with a different set of friends, and there's a few of these guys that are like, I don't have 24 hours to dedicate. We just had this talk like right before we got on here.
Oh yeah.
And Second Best, we mentioned him last week. He kind of joined chat and he was talking about it. He said, "Yeah, guys, I'm not doing more than 12 hours." And I was like, "Well, I'd rather not waste my time, but I guess if we're doing it this way, then somebody will probably have a stream open watching to see what some of the other players around the world are doing, and so we'll try to get in that way." So I think we'll try to shoot for Friday for the podcast this week. That'll be right after the TWAB comes out on Thursday. We're not going to touch on the TWAB this week because there's really nothing in it. They kind of touched on the Games to Give charity event that they do a couple times a year, and they touched on the raid. And the raid details are simple. 3/5/22, that's a week from today. And the power level is 1530.
Yep.
If you complete the legendary campaign, as soon as you complete it, you are given a bundle of blue gear. That's all gear. That's all 5 armor pieces and all 3 weapons that are 1520. So at that point in time, you are only 10 points away, and you should have a relatively easy time getting to cap.
Yeah. Especially with all the powerful drops you'll be getting from just playing the game afterwards. Yeah, it's very feasible. Grumpy Otter says, I think they found the perfect balance between normal and Grandmaster. I like to think that as well.
Yeah.
The whole thing felt very doable. At no point, again, I've said this before, there was at no point in time where I didn't think I could do it myself. We had joked a little bit about last week. We're like, oh, well, we can solo the whole campaign? Yes, you can. And they make it doable, which is the best part of that. It doesn't feel like it's ever impossible. It's definitely more fun with friends, at least in my opinion. but for ease, it's definitely way easier just to go ahead and
Right.
finish it yourself.
And if I can comment on that real quick, this is so different because for the last 2 years, we've been playing with nothing but champions to modify our experience, right? Like, everything else feels about the same, but then they just have beefier, tankier champions. And what we're doing right now with this legendary campaign, like, the Hive Guardians, not a super big deal. Not a super big deal. Yeah.
I definitely thought they'd be more of a nuisance.
Yeah, I thought they'd be more of a nuisance, but my goodness, everything else is such a nuisance. Like the regular knights, the orange bar knights. My dude, I have emptied my likely suspect fusion rifle into that thing and not killed it. Like taking its shield down, beforehand and not killed it. Like everything else is so tanky. So yeah, I think Otter is exactly right. I think they've got a very nice balance going on here, which is not something that we've had really. And honestly, I'm gonna say this, being a Bungie fanboy, I'm not just a fan of Bungie because of Destiny. I think I've said before, but because of Halo, and this feels like a legendary Halo-esque campaign.
Oh yeah,
it's on that level of storytelling and that level of difficulty.
Agreed. Yeah, they found a great balance with all of this. I'm very excited to see what they do in the future, because if this is the standard that they're going to hit now for their expansions, I can't wait to see what the seasons are going to bring. Because I feel like if you're going to continue with this level of like expectation, and they hyped Witch Queen, like I've yet to see them hype something like this. We talked about this last week. They haven't hyped something this big since Taken King. Like Beyond Light was hyped for sure, but it wasn't to this extent. Like I'm seeing YouTube videos everywhere about it. I'll see articles about it online a ton. This expansion got some serious attention, and I think that was definitely intentional by their marketing team, because they've doubled in size. From last year, they said like, we're hiring double capacity. They had just opened a new office. They're gonna fill the whole thing up. They're having a dedicated team just for Crucible. Like, they're really coming into their own at 5 years of game.
And not to mention Sony joined them just recently again.
Yeah,
so.
And that's awesome, because Sony's known for being like, hey, you know what, you've been making a good game. Here's a blank check. You just make a good game. Go make God of War. Like, yeah, okay, great. Thanks. That's awesome. Thanks, Papa Sony. So they have good backing. They are definitely set for the future on this.
Yeah.
So TWAB was really light. Check it out for yourself. They talk about charity giving and stuff. If you're able to, go for it. It's a good cause. They said the first 48 hours, all of that stuff is going to Pakistan relief. What's going on over there?
Ukraine.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ukraine. My bad, not Pakistan. It's going over to Ukraine relief. I'm not going to comment on any of that just because I don't know a ton about it, so I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. Other than, war bad. But next week's TWAB is going to really focus in on the raid, which that'll be a fun, juicy one to dissect. I will say this. I'm very excited that they did... they hid all of the weapons and mods in your collections. Hid. You can see the weapons when you go to the crafting table. You can see the weapons that are there.
You can't see what they are, what kind of what type they are. So no details.
So if you were to look in collections, they would say classified, and you can see what weapons are missing. And then if you go Enclave, you can see the weapons that are there.
And another spoiler alert: if you're going through, you can there's a tab where you can see all of your exotic weapon ornaments, and under the energy slot, there is, under the pulse rifle section, there is an exotic pulse rifle ornament that everyone is about 100% certain is going to be the raid weapon. Spoiler free as we can be, I will say this much: it appears to be a void pulse rifle. That's all we know.
Honestly, we haven't had a primary exotic raid weapon drop
since Vex
in quite some time. Well, Vex is a rework.
Well,
Vex
that's true. That's true.
And that's the road I'm taking on this. Like since D2's launch, think about it. Teraba
Yeah, no, Teraba, 1K Voices, Divinity.
One K was heavy. Divinity is special.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Teraba was the
Yeah.
the primary. We haven't gotten a primary exotic from a raid drop since then.
Since Crown of Sorrow. Huh.
That just kind of blew my mind when I was thinking about that. Like, oh my gosh.
It just makes me excited because, like, one thing Bungie does so well is give some personality, to all of their exotic weapons.
Oh, yeah.
I'll even give you an example. We have 3 exotic weapons that all do about the same thing: Hardlight, Borealis, and now the Dead Messenger. Mm-hmm. They're all 3 weapons that can cycle through your light-based subclass, your light-based elements, right? But they're all very different. They're all very unique. And so for me to have another... I have Graviton Lance. That's the only elemental pulse rifle that I have, right? And I love my pulse rifles. And I loved Graviton Lance. And I've used it since Witch Queen launched to see how it feels now that it's got a freaking 50% damage buff, but and it's okay. But I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what this thing is and what it looks like.
Oh yeah.
Now I'll tell you what I'm not excited about. 48 runs.
Oh yeah.
48 runs. That's how many runs it took me to get my Vex Mythic last. Now, I will say this. We have this new feature on all of our crafted weapons that shows the date that weapon was crafted. Mm-hmm. I want my raid weapon to say how many times I completed that raid before I got it.
There you go.
That'll be funny. Yeah. So I guess we've kind of covered the weapon crafting a bit. We've kind of covered our thoughts on the Witch Queen. I do want to take just a moment to kind of go over some of our vendor refreshes for the week and stuff like that. And I do want to say this. Everybody, you need to go check Zur out every week.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not used to checking him out, I suggest you do, because he always has some cool weapons. And not to mention his armor and stuff like that. You used to go see him for some, cool exotic armor and, guns or whatever, but no, not anymore. Now he's got weapons he's carried for a while now, and he has a potential to drop weapons from our core playlists activities and some of our even more desirable activities. Like, for example, he can carry Trials weapons, a weapon, right? This week he's got the Frozen Orbit Sniper Rifle. And it's an okay roll, but it's got Snapshot. It's the Frozen Orbit. That's all you need for Frozen Orbit, and it's already a really, really good sniper. He's got a Dire Promise with a Swashbuckler. That's pretty good. He's got a Sojourner's Tale, which is a slug shotgun from Season of the Splicer. It's got Opening Shot. That's really all you need for it to be decent. But more importantly, he has Dead Man's Tale and he has Hawk Moon now. And I mentioned this a little bit ago. But these are the 2 exotic weapons that we have in the game that can get random rolls. And for the Dead Man's Tale this week, it has Vorpal Weapon. There's no better weapon in the game for PvP to shut down supers with than having a Vorpal Weapon DMT. I have one. I've had it for a while now. I love it. I've got several hundred kills on that thing, and many of those kills are people in their supers.
With supers,
Yeah.
You get really cocky when you get like a roaming super going in PvP. It's like, because if you can launch it at full health and not panic drop it, you feel a little invincible. You're coming charging at somebody either with tickly fingers or, charging at them to stomp on them. But yeah, you can, if you're on a narrow straightaway, you get blasted down to nothing real fast with a nice DMT.
Dude, it's really good. And coming up next, I want to mention Banshee, and I'm also going to mention Tess, because if you guys, the uninitiated, are unaware, each of them now sell 4 unique mods I want to say that changes daily, right? I think the mods change daily.
Does. Mm-hmm.
Check them out every day. If I see something that I don't think anybody has that might come in handy, like High Energy Fire or something like that, I'll make sure to shout it out. But for those of you who have just gotten into the game, or maybe you've just come back to the game, keep an eye on them, because they could have mods that you need. Tess. Not Tess. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 801. You're
yeah. I was like, wait a second, you stuffed my girl. Yeah,
your girlfriend. My bad, man.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But yeah, and of course Banshee, he does also sell some weapons. He sells some cool stuff. So right now he's got either for the hunter it's the Quick Fang, or if you're a Titan it's the Crown Splitter, or the Eternity's Edge if you're a Warlock. He's selling that. He's got one of the new sidearms, the Redback, which is it's an okay sidearm. I've used it a little bit. It's okay. Let me be real with you. Now, one thing that is interesting that he has this new fusion rifle. I say new. It's really the Erentil is exactly what it is. But it's the Snorri FR5. And it's a precision frame just like Erentil. It can roll very similar rolls like Erentil. And right now he's got a roll that's it's not great, but keep your eyes out because that thing could be rather disgusting. Now, I will say this. He has a Shepherd's Watch with firing line. Maybe pick that up. Firing line is really good right now. I've been using one of the... I'm going to keep it as PG as I can, but my new favorite sniper right now for this season, and only because I got this roll, is the very first roll that I got on this thing, the Fug-U. Okay? I don't know if that's what's actually pronounced.
Sure, that's not the real name, but yeah.
I'm sure that's not the real name, but, whatever, fuck you. So, this thing came with lead from gold and firing line, and let me tell you, I'm having a ton of fun with that thing so far.
Honestly, that lead from gold is a solid choice when it comes to Grandmasters.
So good.
Because, again, we talked about this last week, you don't have to run Ammo Finder for it. It can run off of your main thing. And then firing line, for the extra DPS, that's nice.
Let's see, and then I don't think... Where I'm trying to look for Ada's stuff, but that's why I didn't mention her, because I'm having a hard time finding her.
She's selling armor mods now.
Is that so?
It should only be. She's selling specifically armor mods, and then Banshee will sell specifically weapon mods.
Okay.
Really playing into what they're doing now.
Right, and that's good, honestly.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't know, and maybe I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you didn't actually clean out your vault prior to this season, now's a good time to do it, because every time you dismantle something, it increases your reputation with Banshee. If you don't know, and this is what I was coming back to, Banshee does not accept gunsmith materials anymore. That's not a thing anymore. So it's all reputation, just like everybody else. I think everybody now, for the most part, except for our planetary vendors, Devrim and Failsafe, like, there's no more materials, right? Everything else is it's all reputation, so that's exciting.
And they're planning on doing some more reworking on everything else in the future as well. Before we continue, I want to read some of the comments. Grumpy Otter says, I treat the Hive Guardians like I would treat normal Guardians. Shatter Dive for the win. Snipe says, Beyond Light was kind of a letdown. I'm actually happy that I gave Bungie another chance. There's still some fine-tuning with the crafting and PvP that needs to be done, but it's definitely an improvement.
100%.
I would say, there's definitely still some fine-tuning. I thought Beyond Light was good. I definitely got more out of it because I was trying for that day one raid. And I also just really liked how they picked up the story. There was a lot more... They were tying up storylines that they haven't touched on since Destiny 1. And I think that was the exciting part for me, is they were now looking at the past and bringing it to the forefront. Like, hey, listen, we're bringing back the Stranger.
100%.
We're finishing up some of this stuff. We're going to make it... The storyline became the forefront again, not just the back burner to some random stuff we were doing. And that's... Yes. I think Beyond Light kind of was a letdown in that sense, where it's like there was a lot they were trying to juggle and they didn't quite get it all, but they set the pace.
It brought us to darkness, it brought us to darkness.
But I think without Beyond Light, we would not be at this hype level for Witch Queen.
No, and in a lot of ways, Beyond Light really was just kind of like, it didn't do a whole lot to like add on to the already story established that we already had.
It didn't change the established formula.
It's like it just opened up a whole new book, and that book was Old Man Braid Tech himself. Like like realistically, and look inside of his mind, and all of that was very, very cool. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, for sure.
But like Sam said, this like gave us something that we have been working for since meeting Crota. Right?
Yeah,
for the very first time.
Destiny 1. Yeah,
since Destiny 1.
It's nice to see these story pieces finally coming together and finally wrapping up. So yeah, I don't 100% think that Beyond Light was a failure, a letdown. It was, but I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. I liked it, but there was definitely some stuff it missed, and I feel like Witch Queen definitely improved on those aspects. There's a lot more going on, and they've definitely made some really good changes since then. And again, this is where they've come out and said, ever since Beyond Light began, like, we're not making Destiny 3. We're going to continue with Destiny 2, and that was when the gear shifted, and then they're like, we're going to start putting more in. The longevity of our game, we're going to start tuning everything up, and that's where I think it really began to get kicked off, was Beyond Light, and then we're moving into today.
Yeah.
Master Riven said,
Riven, hey man, what's up?
If it's worth the hype, the raid will be on par with the greats. Yes, our speculation for the raid is, they've talked about this in the story, and I'm not gonna go into anything that's like, oh, this has been leaked. I'm confident, and this educated guess, I'm thinking it's a Scorn raid, and I'm thinking Kalos is going to be the final boss. Because during the Presage mission, he was consumed by the voices in the darkness, and he had the Scorn with him. I really think that's where the raid's going to be. I'm very excited to see that happen. And again, if you're wanting to watch it or just do it yourself, jump in, do it yourself. But if you're not able to, follow Batsam42 on stream. I will have it up, and I will be doing 24 hours. So really pop in for that. Master Evan also said Dad rifles return for meta.
Yes, pulse rifles.
Yeah.
Pulse rifles, man. They got that buff.
Oh yeah, honestly, they got a buff on top of a buff. So the exotic pulse rifles got 10%. All exotics got 40%
I thought it was 10%. Oh yeah, no, that's right.
40.
Right.
It was all exotic
primaries
weapons
got a 40.
Yeah. And then on top of that, pulse rifles got either 10 or 15% buff additionally. Yeah. So that damage is insane.
They're ridiculous.
Chewing through.
Outbreak right now is so useful, and that just makes me so happy. It makes me almost giddy. Now I'm gonna just sprinkle something for some of you guys out there. Myself, I'm not a warlock main. Sam, you know this. You are a warlock main. Mm-hmm. You should totally pair your Outbreak Perfected with Chromatic Fire. So there you go. You should do that.
No, it's a good setup.
It's even better now.
Yeah. They're popping off with that Frozen Orbit and Sojourner's Tale. Yeah, pretty good stuff. Snipe said they said in one of the TWABs that they are buffing pulse rifles and changing some of the older exotics. Yes, they're probably gonna touch on that more as we continue out through stuff. Yeah. I think their main focus is getting this raid underway and getting prep for Worlds first, and then after that we'll kind of see the rest of everything kind of trickle out. Like we were saying, ever since Forsaken, they've been doing the raid changes the like the rest of the game. Yeah. Like you're gonna see this raid happen, and then there's gonna be a cutscene the next day that's gonna shift the balance of what's going on in the world, and then the rest of the story can actually legitimately unfold. I think they're just waiting for that last content boot to drop, and then they'll probably get into some more technical stuff of what they want to change. Right. So we'll be seeing that real soon. Bloodbane said, I heard PvP is littered with Invis hunters now, and you can simply make a build out of that and make yourself Invis last longer. The Invis is insane.
110%.
Being able to shatter dive and turn your team invisible is also very scary. In fact, I think one of the new perks for the Nightfall is really scary. Enemies are invisible until they get close to you. And they won't appear on your radar either. So enemies could literally be around the corner. You have no idea, and then you get blasted in the face by a knight.
That's not okay. That's not okay.
It's just fun new modifiers. This one's for you, Ledge. Master Evan asks, can Shepherd's Watch roll with Snapshot?
100%. It can roll actually moving target and Snapshot. And if Snapshot's not your cup of tea, in that same column, it can also roll with Opening Shot. So, unfortunately, it can't roll with both, and that's kind of what you would like to see. Funny story. Silicon Neuroma has come back to us. It is a Vanguard weapon now. I guess a strike weapon. Which means that once we get Grandmasters, it'll have the ability to roll Adept. So I'm thinking Adept Silicon Neuroma. If you guys haven't played with Occluded Finality, Occluded Finality has been insane ever since it came back to us because it can roll Snapshot and Opening Shot. And that is the creme de la creme for snipers, right? Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't like using Opening Shot because I feel like it makes me a worse sniper because it just adds way too much aim assist. And I feel like if I'm using a sniper that doesn't have it at that point in time, it just makes me snipe worse. So I don't like to use it myself. But if you actually, if you don't have morals like I do, be my guest to do it. But, yeah.
What did you say? Silicon Neuroma?
Silicon Neuroma. It can roll Snapshot, Opening Shot.
Yes. So I'm actually looking at the random rolls for it now.
It's ridiculous. It's going to be the best peep. It's going to be the best.
High caliber rounds, armor piercing rounds, appended mag, adapt mag, extended mag. Yeah. High cal, accurized. First column is with perpetual motion, triple tap, compulsive reloader, snapshot, steady hands, firmly planted. Second column, demolitionist, focus fury, frenzy, firing line, adrenaline junkie, and opening shot.
So you're going to want triple tap or firmly planted and firing line for PvE primarily.
Yeah,
that's going to be disgusting. And, so far as PvP goes, Snapshot, Opening Shot is going to make this thing God tier. And being that it can roll Adept, if you have the right perks on it, you can max out, like my Occluded Finality has 100 range on it, which is what makes it so good. Those slow firing snipers are really, really good like that. So what this means is you can get it with the max range and then hopefully have like a handling masterwork.
Yeah.
And then be able to put the additional handling on it with the adept handling, and that thing is going to be disgusting. I can't wait to try it out.
Yeah, one of the other things it can roll with, and I'm actually very excited for this, it's the Foundry Trait. Yeah. Stunning recovery. Mm. Stunning a champion partially refills your magazine and triggers health regeneration and improves health recovery for a short duration. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that can literally make a difference. Yeah. And it's just a passive perk on the weapon. And that's those we was talking about. Like, there's a lot of these weapons that I'm holding on to in my vault. When I start getting replacements for them, they're gone because these Foundry traits are gonna be changers for the game. Like for activities, no matter what you're doing, it's gonna be great. And that's real exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to start maybe farming some of these Grandmasters when eventually they do drop.
It's going to be a little while. I think April.
Yeah. So we got plenty of stuff to do until then.
In the meantime.
Because Elden Ring came out, yesterday, and I'm not putting it in it until after we finish the raid, just because I'm like, that's going to suck up all of my time.
It's gonna come. You're gonna start playing it one day. You're like Saturday's gonna roll around. You're gonna be like, no raid, Elden Ring.
Yes. Well, because I'm the one who plays games like this where I work, and so like 5 or 6 people. I'm like, can you carry me through? I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Just hop on. But yeah, so I think overall, my expectations for Witch Queen, they were, I was very hyped going into this, and on the other side of it, still very hyped. Only really finished the main campaign, still kind of digging into some stuff. There's a lot left for me to do. Really, really excited with how everything turned out. The storyline is fantastic, and then even what we were talking about last week with the Taken King, there's a lot of extras to go and find. There's a lot of hidden things the game just doesn't tell you about. And I'm sure more will come and more will drop after the raid's done. But, oh my goodness. Even the new activity is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And
have you tried that out yet?
The Wellspring?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I'm going to do that. probably tonight.
So the whole Wellspring thing is it's a 6-man activity, and one day you're going and attacking, and the other day you're defending. So it plays like how Overwatch like defend the payload.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one day you're attacking the scoring, the other day you're defending the thing from the scoring.
Okay.
So it's honestly really cool, and it keeps the activity fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's matchmaking and stuff, so you might get some tools in there, but honestly, it's a really nice system.
Right. I know there's new Battlegrounds. Everybody go check that out.
Yep.
That's one thing I know Sam was telling us earlier this evening. We were playing and talking a bit. He hasn't even touched on to the seasonal stuff yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just been doing the actual expansion stuff, and these seasonal weapons are so sexy. I can't wait to start getting into these. That new pulse rifle, the sniper, like all of them. There's an auto rifle, which is a rapid fire arc frame, which is amazing. And I am so stoked because, to me, of course, my favorite weapons to look at aesthetically are the Black Armory weapons. 100%. But my second favorite, I think before now, was probably the Season of the Dawn weapons, the Saint 14 inspired weapons. I loved those. I loved all those. Still Feather Repeater. Was that Breachlight? Was that the sidearm? So good. And then my favorite Scout Rifle, which is now gone from us, and I can't even remember its name anymore. That's how sad that is. But these weapons look like they look that good. Like they look as good.
Yeah,
as
they were covered
weapons.
in chrome and looked amazing.
Right. Who doesn't love chrome?
I mean, yeah. I mean, my Vex Mythoclast isn't like chrome.
There's a new ornament for Vex Mythoclast.
Is there?
Yeah. It doesn't look good.
Yeah. The last one didn't look good. That's why I made the joke about chrome. It's Master Raven, not Riven. I kept saying Riven. Sorry. Yes, all hail Warlock mains. Agreed. Bloodbane said Sojourner's Watch should roll with Snapshot last season at least, and there's an update for this season. I have no idea.
I don't know. I'll have to look. But yeah, I'm definitely getting into it. I'm going to go through today, probably try out that Wellspring activity for the first time. There is a lot to do. I did want to make a note of something because we were talking about crafting earlier. If you go to your Triumphs page, and there's on the right-hand side of the page is where you go to look at your exotic catalyst. Now you can look at weapons that you can craft, right? Now,
all the frames.
Before you can craft a weapon, you have to get the frame. And the way you do that is by attuning.
Yeah.
You have to attune them. The red ones. Not dismantle. Yeah. Do not dismantle. We already had this discussion.
Yes.
You have to attune them. So many of those particular weapons. So that's actually kind of grindy, right? Because you have to get, first off, lucky enough to get those weapons, and then you actually have to complete those weapons. So some of them, not so bad. It's like 1 or 2, or maybe 1 to 3, and then some of them take like 5. So.
And I guess is the part that's going to keep the game fresh. Because if you're grinding after a specific weapon, like, oh man, if I can eventually get this raid weapon, like, oh my gosh, that's going to be amazing. You have to get that thing like 3 more times, and then you can craft it outside the raid. And that's worth it. Like, that's going to be worth it for me going into the raid every week to go farm for weapons, because then I can bring them back out and craft them myself and really go ham on the rolls. Because we've had, up till now, it's just been, you have to use, what are those called? It's the material you get from the raid, Spoils of Conquest. There it is. Until this point, you've had to go into the raid, find the secret chests, and get Spoils of Conquest. Or run the raid multiple times on the same character, and you'll get Spoils of Conquest that way. Well, that was to farm random rolls. Well, now you just need the guns. And now that you have the guns, you can make your own random rolls. And that is the most exciting part. That is future-proofing to its finest. Because you can clean your vault out of all the weapons that you've been holding on to. Because these new ones are going to have traits to them that you can build. You can recraft them. You can reshape them. You can do whatever you need to do with them to make them better for your playstyle. Like, when the Nightfalls eventually drop, you're going to want to have a nice selection of weapons and good perks to choose from. This is going to optimize that even further. I would love to eventually see the adapt weapons from Nightfalls fall into the Forge.
Yeah.
But the only reason I don't see that happening is because they want a reason for that playlist to exist outside of
Right.
you going and farming it.
Well, I was gonna say something, and I was gonna say, can I blow your mind? But I think you've kind of already touched on it because it's not even on the calendar yet. But eventually, we got to be thinking master raid, right? Eventually. Yeah. Now that I would think that maybe, and because as we've seen right now, there's no master or time lost, weapons on the crafting table. It's just the regular weapons. Now, is there the ability to add those to them? Maybe. Who knows?
I'm gonna say yes, and I'll explain why when you're done.
I have my own theory, and I'm gonna say no, just because at that point in time there is zero use for Spoils of Conquest, other than farming other than farming the attuned weapons. Really.
Yeah. So I'm going to say yes. And the reason I'll say yes is because you can, for Osteostriga, you need to get the weapon to a certain point, and then you can then add the masterwork. I think it's going to be like that. I think you need to farm the weapon and use it enough to get to the point where it can be adapt, but still have a master mode raid because of the materials you'll need to put into the gun to make it masterworked.
Okay. Potentially,
That to me feels more of a, and I mean, feel free to disagree and share what you think of to this, but I feel like it makes it more obtainable because again, you're going into a raid, and what do you want? You want loot. Well, their goal for this year was to make it easier to get better quality loot. What better way than to be able to craft it yourself?
Yeah.
But farming that material, because it's going to be a consistent, constant drop.
Right.
Maybe make the cap a little higher. Maybe you have to, in order to craft that weapon, you would have had to have obtained that weapon and brought it to max level as a crafted weapon. Then you can make it adapt.
Jesus. Maybe,
but
yeah.
This is all a theory. This is all just an idea. Because maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they'll just make it adapt version of the gun drop from the raid, and that's the only way to get it. So that way it solidifies like the people who did the raid to get the weapons to be able to craft them from the big I was gonna say big boys, but from the players who took the extra step to do the hard mode to get the weapon in their hands. Like, I earned this. I worked for this. I didn't build this. I fought for this.
Right.
I can see them going both ways. I would love to see that adapt version come to the Forge, just because I want everything to be in a Forge. Because I love the idea of being able to upgrade my stuff. But I can see them just like, no. So I'm very optimistic. I would love to see what comes next out of this. I'm very much looking forward to these raid weapons and raid stuff. So
100%.
That'll definitely be something we'll hit on next week as well.
Right. Well, I think we've pretty much touched on everything. I kind of want to end this one by asking you a question, and I think we can both give our thoughts on. What would you like to see them do to weapon crafting to make it even better? Like, what would
Black Armory.
you do? Okay, yes, of course. Of course, adding weapons. Of course, adding weapons.
So here's what I want to see. I want to see 801 come down, look at the thing, and be like, Psh, I can do better. And then move the whole thing to Earth, to the last city, and 801's like, don't need the darkness or a pyramid ship. Have some of these Guardian, and then bang, we have some really good stuff. All joking aside, that's not joking. I really want that. I do want 801 to come back as my weapon crafter. To make it easier and to see more stuff in the future, I would like to see what they're doing with armor now. For the last block of seasons we got, they brought back different sets of armor every season that you could obtain from the different vendors. They became world drops.
Right.
Armor from the planets that are no longer here, like Titan. Not Nessus, it's already here. Io. And what's the other one? We lost 3 planets. Mars is back.
Io.
Well, that's what I said. I said Io.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry. My bad.
You're good. But so the planets we lost, we have them here, and the armor sets that went with them are coming back in the sense that they are world drops now. Xur sells them. 801 sells them. You can pick them up purely for cosmetic sake. They're not going to be good stat rolls.
Yeah.
They're for people who want to have the complete I want my character to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the same thing for guns.
Sure.
Not as the universal ornaments, but to bring back some good guns that are they're fan favorites. And again, in all seriousness, Black Armory had the most unique guns.
Yes.
I would love to see them come back, but on a more serious note, there are guns from the beginning of Destiny 1 that a lot of guns have been built on the models of those.
Yeah.
Let's start seeing some guns like that. Let's see old seasonal weapons come back. Because we have Season of the Hunt, had some okay weapons. Season of the Splicer brought some of my favorite seasonal weapons since Black Armory.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the
Season of the Dawn.
Season of the Dawn. Season of the Dawn had some great weapons.
Yeah.
Let's see that come back. Every season, give us some old seasonal guns back. Because you can balance the loot pool just fine, but giving players the ability to go back and get some better guns clears up vault space. Weapons are not going to be the same anymore. People are going to be hunting the different stuff. Unfortunately, the only thing I can see that being a downside to that is you have to figure out a way to just give or justify giving players an entire season's worth of weapons in one go.
Yeah.
As to where right now you have to obtain that weapon, play around with it a little bit, and then, pull the pieces out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something I'd like to see. Somehow they can implement that. Maybe over the course of a season, Banshee would sell one gun a week from the different seasons. So that way you can start building up your supply again.
Right.
Because back in Destiny 1, we had the weapon, what was it called? You could go to Banshee and you could buy